Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and it is the season of goodwill to all men and women, and the season for most adults worldwide to spend hours upon hours trying to get Christmas lights to work as they get them out of boxes from the garage, attics and lofts around various different countries. Now, these ones here are LED ones, powered by a little battery pack. In here just takes 3 AA batteries, and these are external ones that you would put in your garden. And I'll tell you what, these were up the last couple of Christmases, and they're really good, meaning that they automatically come on, so they're, once you turn them on, they will go on for 8 hours, then go off for, let's get my maths right, 16 hours, and then the next day, again, at the same time, they will go on for 8 hours again. So they're really, really good because you don't have to worry about them. As well as that, they don't eat up the batteries. They will last a whole season outside, which is fantastic. But this year I've had failures on a couple of lights already, and now this one here I thought, well, why don't I try and do a video on. The first failure that I did was just a broken wire coming out of the box, so although I did a real nice repair on it, probably wasn't worth actually filming it because it's not that interesting. But the second one I couldn't fix because I couldn't get my head around it. But since then I've spoke to my brother Paul, and he's explained it to me over the phone why possibly it's not working, and now it makes a lot more sense. So here we have the power thing down here. We can press various different things on here to give it different functions. So you can see now it's flashing differently. Press it again, it will fade in, fade out, blah 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 blah. So let's do it on something where it's pretty much on. Okay, well that's on all the time. Now, all these work here, but this is really weird. So it comes out of here, goes along here, and we have a whole section here, which is just not working. And then it works for all this section down here, goes around, back up, and then we have another section that's not working. Well, isn't that weird? Hold on a minute. They're working there now, but they weren't working. They weren't working on another setting. Now it's just got even more confusing, but hopefully it will make for a more interesting video. Right, let's do flickering. Okay, so 100% these ones here are not working, and these ones here, no, they're not working now. So I think what's happening is I've been looking at the wiring, and coming out of the control box we've only got 2 wires, which kind of makes sense. But then it starts to get more interesting because we've now got 3 wires here, which is confusing. And if you look at most of the circuit, we actually have like 2 wires going into each bulb and 2 wires going out. And then we've got a separate wire, the negative wire, which runs the whole way from here, intact, I think, all the way to the very, very last one over there. So what my brother said is that they must be working in parallel, but then different circuits of series, and each circuit of series would be in parallel with each other. So we've got an awful lot of lights here, so it's going to be really hard to work out what's what. Bear with me, that's just a phone. Right, back again. So sorry, what he's saying is that most of them are, so they're wired in parallel, but for example, however many lights we have here, there might be, I haven't counted them, there might be 20 or more on this little bit. This is going to hopefully be a bit in series. And then this next lot will be another bit in series and another bit in series, but all the series ones will be connected in parallel together. And I think it's to do with the voltage drop or something, where if they were all in series, there might not be enough voltage to get to the end. So, what happens is in series is that if you have one light that's not working, then that section of series light will fail. So I believe that's what's happening here. This bit's got even more confusing, as you did see that they lit up slightly on one of those other settings. But what's interesting is, look at where we go from it working to not working. Here we have 3 wires, and yet where we go from it working to not working, we go down to 2 wires. And again, it's not working all the way around here until we get to here. And again, look, light working here, 3 wires here, but only 2 wires here. And exactly the same situation here. Light on, 2 wires not working, light on, 2 wires not working. So I believe that's the series section. So this is what I'm thinking about doing. I'm thinking about possibly chopping the wire here and then taking out the series section, and maybe then fault finding that one there, see if we can find the dodgy LED, or maybe it's not an LED, these are designed to go outside, so possibly water's got inside here, and maybe it's one of the contacts that is broken. So we know that when I put different settings on here, that they were lighting up ever so slightly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the room completely black by just turning the lights off, and then I'm going to look for any lights that have a slight flicker. If they do, I'm going to take them as working, and I'm going to look for the LEDs that have nothing at all. So if I was to turn the lights off now, let's see if we've got anything coming out of these ones. Right, can you see here? There we go. Look at them all now. Oh, they've gone again. There. So what I'm going to do is, these ones are the ones that are not working, but yet on certain settings they're lighting up ever so slightly. And the same ones, or same with these as well. You can see they're just giving, I mean, they're nothing compared to the ones over here, but they're giving off tiny little flickers. So I'm going to go across every single one of them, and then what I'm going to do is, like this one here, is there any glow on this? Oh, there you go, that came on. So if it does that, I'm going to take it as read that that's okay. And then if we've got one that's not doing anything, then I'm hopefully that might mean that that's a faulty one. Right, okay, so let's look at the very first one here. I've got it in my hand. Well, you're not going to be able to see, but hold on. Let's see if this light can shine up this one. There you go. Right, so I've got one bulb just shining up the next one next to it. So I've got it in my hand now, and there's nothing happening on that whatsoever. I can't see anything. So maybe that's the LED that's knocking all the other ones out. So I'm going to put a little bit of tape on that one, and I'm going to go across all the others as well and see if they're doing anything. Okay, so I've just got the lights on really low, just so you can see. Now, in the different settings, definitely more of them are lighting up, but they're still really struggling. They're kind of flickering between on and off. But these three, I found three which are not doing anything. So even though, I mean, these are actually lighting up quite nicely in this light, but this one here is not doing anything at all with the tape on. And this one here is not doing anything at all with the tape on there. So that's two I found on that row. Everyone else is actually doing something. And these ones here are really flickering on and off. But this one, it doesn't matter what I do, I never have any flicker out of this one at all. So on this slot here, I've only got one that is not working. So I'm going to cut into each of the dead LEDs and see what's happening on the inside. And whilst I'm doing that, let's give a shout out to the group of legends that are also known as the My Mate Vince Massive. That's right. And this month that consists of Saturnine Cinema, Robert Hughes, Operational 117, KitDigital.com, Kip Hakes, Max Rokotansky, Jaw Media, and Mr. Directory. So there we have it. Let's now see what's happening on the inside of these lights. Yeah, so if you have a look here, this is the feed side. We've got the negative going right the way through. So out the three wires here, one's the negative, and then one's feeding the LED, but then the other one's going to that side and going along that way. So, and that one's going off that side as well. Yeah, so I suppose, I'm getting myself confused now between the between the series and parallel. Yeah, so I suppose it is. Oh, here we go. Well, there we go. That's one of the broken ones because that's just popped straight out there, and it's really rusty. So now I take apart the next light, and it's exactly the same thing. Just a broken leg of the LED where rust has got into it. But this doesn't explain why they're not working, because although these two are broken, you can see that the wires themselves are intact. So why is the voltage not going through to the next lights? So what I then do is I tug each of the wires on this faulty section of LEDs to see what happens. And look what happens now. There we go, look at that. Let me just see if it's a coincidence. No, I pulled this wire here and all of a sudden they started to work. So now, does that mean that this LED here was putting a fault on it? Let's see if these light up. Yeah. And this one.
Yeah. Interesting, it lights up both ways. Okay, so it was this one here that was putting a fault on it. I wonder whether it was shorting together inside here. Let's open it up. Right, again, a lot of rust. Unless somehow that was shorting together in there. Let's see if a short will kill it. So now, if I was to short these two. No. Oh yes, look, they've gone off. Yeah, so it looks like a short would kill it. Right, well I think what we'll do here is, let's come back to this one here. We know we need to replace 2 of the LEDs or shorten it. Let's see if we can get this side here working. I'm thinking now it's more not the fact of the LEDs failing. I think it's more there's something wrong with the wiring. So it should still work even with failed LEDs as far as I can see. Unless it's possible that the LEDs fail on a short. I don't know if LEDs can fail on a short, or is it just always an open? Don't know. So I now have to swap rooms because it's 1 o'clock in the morning in the UK and I'm making a little bit too much noise, waking up the household. So I go into the back room and set myself up again and start working on the other section of lights. Now I was starting to cut open the LED that wasn't working on that section, and the same thing again, just like rust and stuff. That's the reason the LED is not working. Still kind of confusing why it's knocking out the whole circuit when the wires are together. But I then look back at the section that I've just been working on and I find out that it's not working anymore. So you've seen in that part of the video, as soon as I disconnected the wires from that LED, it was working. But now it's not working again. So let's turn our attention back on to this section that we have been working on originally and try to find out what's causing it not to work after it was working. Okay, so the plot thickens. So I was working over there and then I looked up to the old one up here, the old section, and I found out that this wasn't working again. But watch this. When I disconnect this one here, those ones there start working up to this point. When I connect this one, those ones stop working. Now I haven't done anything here. None of these wires are shorting together. So although it was working a little while ago, it's not working now. But it starts working again here on these just before the 2 wire section here. So that says to me that there's a fault in this section here. So I'm going to leave this connected up and I think I'm going to disconnect 1 wire at a time from just after the 2 wire section, and let's see if these ones here come to life. So this is the last working one here. So let's just snip this wire here so we can get to it easy. Okay, so you can now see that all of these ones have come alive and all these ones are still working here. How is that possible? Unless of course that's the faulty light, but I think that's going to be highly unlikely. Let's strip it down. Now, I wonder what's the downside of just leaving that one disconnected. If they're all working there. So that's just connecting up the last light. Let's see if we can get this working on diode test. Oh. Okay, that's not working. Either way round. Let's see, is that putting some sort of short? No, 220 ohms. Let's see if it's giving the same reading both ways though. Yes, it is, 220 ohms. Okay, let me get a working one. Let's just make sure this is working. Yeah, this is lighting up blue. And nothing that way. Right, there we go. That's open that way. Okay, so as far as resistance is concerned, that's showing that it's completely open both ways. Ah. Yeah. And yet that's given me a reading both ways. So that looks like that's putting a short on that section. Right, let's throw that to one side. So now, if I was to strip this back here, we should find on a working one that this won't knock out the rest of the circuit. Oh, I suddenly feel like we've made a tiny bit of progress. Let's have a look now. Okay, that's lighting up blue. I'll tell you what, let's do a white one, because this should be white. That's lighting up white, and it hasn't knocked out the rest of the circuit. You can still see they're all flashing away there. Well, let me just try a few different settings. Excellent, at long last. I don't know how long it's going to be when I edit this video down, but at long last I feel like we now know what the fault is. So basically some LEDs are putting a short on which are knocking them out completely. So I don't think it is to do with the wires, I think it's to do with the LEDs, and the reason we pulled it out earlier and it started to work is because that LED was probably faulty, and by pulling out the wires we broke the circuit on that LED. So now I'm confident that we can solder this one up. I just want to see if it works the other way around. Yeah, now that confuses me how it works both ways. That's really weird. Let me get back to the other section now, and I'm looking for a shorted LED. Okay, I've got an idea. If we were to put our meter to continuity, because it looks like these are in parallel with each other, in this section anyway, up until where it gets to the two wires, which is over here. So you can see that I'm dealing with this loop of cable in here now, just from here to here. So if I was to get my meter, this is where it starts. And if I go between here and here, you can hear I've got continuity. And if I go between here and here, I've got continuity. So if I was to go really to the very end here, I should find that I haven't got continuity on one of them, on one of the wires. But I'm thinking if I was to go to halfway, that would make sense, wouldn't it? Because then I can break down the circuit. So I'm thinking halfway's around about here. So why don't I forget about the ground wire here? Why don't I strip back a tiny little bit of these two wires here, and then I can see if I've got continuity between here and here, because then we've kind of eliminated a good 10 LEDs. It's a shame I can't just pierce through it. Let's see if I can pierce through it, because that would save me having to repair it. So I'm there now. Is that going to work? Let's just see. Got nothing there. Oh, excellent, and I've got something here. So now we know that that single wire and that wire is okay. So let's go on this one here. Right, so now that should be going to here, which it is. So this isn't going to eliminate the LEDs, but now I know the wiring's okay between here and here. So now what I can do is I can break the wires down here and then test between here and the holes that I've just done here. So I think with these ones I am going to, because well, mind you, I could just probe again, can't I? So let's forget about the ground, the negative that's going all the way through. Let's pierce through a bit of it here. And now let's go between the ones that I've just done. Okay, so I've got it there on that one there. So now I'm going to be dealing with this one here. So let's just leave my probe next to that side. Oh no, that's terrible. That's terrible. I think we need to just cut some wires and see what happens. So I think I'm going to go onto this first one here. So this is where it goes from 2 wires to 3 wires. So let's now see. Let's just cut one of the wires and let's see what happens. Okay, so that hasn't made any difference at all. So I'm just going to strip those wires back quickly, put them back together so I don't get anything mixed up. Right, so we know that that's to ground. Let's cut this one here and see if anything happens. Excellent. Okay, well that started working now. That one started working, but yet this one's not working. Ah, that's knocked out all of the blues. Right, okay. But that did start lighting up. We're going to have to do a lot of repair work here, aren't we? So I suppose I should go mid-circuit again and cut them there and then see which way it's working. So now when I do this, that one will stop, but all the others will start lighting up blue. Yeah, okay, they're lighting up blue again, but you can see that that one's stopped, but the others are lighting up blue now. Right, let's go mid-circuit to here, and forget about the ground. Let's chop the ones here. Right, nothing's happened there on either side. And now let's do this one. Excellent. Fantastic. So you can see all the ones here are now working. Yeah. And from here, going this way, they're not working. So brilliant. So we now know the fault's between here and here. So let's join these wires up, chop halfway again. I don't know any other way to do it because it'd be different if you could see that an LED looks burnt, but you can't. They look identical to all the others. So maybe there's a tool out there that you can use that, I don't know what tool you would use though. I don't think there is a tool that you would be able to use to see which LED's not, you know, putting a short, because the problem is you're not looking for an LED that's broken, it's actually putting a short and knocking out the others. So I'm just going to be fast forwarding through this using the same process that you just seen. So I know which is the faulty half now, so I'm going to chop that faulty half in half and then see which side lights up, and then the side that's not lighting up, chop that in half. The reason I'm doing this is because then you see I'm taking away half the circuit each time, and eventually I will be left with one faulty LED. Hopefully, I mean there could be more than one, but it should pinpoint which ones are faulty. Right, so that's knocked them all out again. So now let's see if I was to cut them from here, whether they'll liven up. Excellent, they've livened up that side. There we go. They've all livened up. Change the setting. There we go. They're all lit up. That one there is the faulty one. So now there's going to be some real repair going on here. Now let's get the multimeter and let's check for just, to begin with, let's put it on diode test. See if it lights up, which it shouldn't do. Nothing that way. And nothing that way. And now if we put it to normal ohms, let's see if this has got 220 ohm, and what's this one doing? Okay, so that's 1000 ohms, and yeah, 1100. So that one has knocked out the system. So that, along with the one up there, are the faulty ones, and we've also had some other bulbs that are not working, LEDs that are not working, but because they're in parallel, that's not going to make a difference that they're not working. But if they've got a short on them, then it is going to stop them from working. Still a little bit unclear why it only stops certain sections from working, or is it to do with the resistance or something? Do you know what? Read the comments, because people will understand this that watch my channel, and yes, a lot of people might be shouting at the screen because it might be really obvious, but I don't think I've ever been quite so confused over anything that I've done. It's really, really complicated considering they're just LED Christmas lights that cost next to nothing. But it just goes to show that just because it's cheap, it doesn't mean that a lot of thought hasn't gone into them and the design of the circuit and stuff. But if you have a look right now, let me just turn these lights off here. You can see now that we've got it going from here all the way up here, they're all working, and all the ones down there are working as well. And if I was to change the setting, there you go, you can see now. I just want to show you this. So you can see it's still all working. Now this is a good light here, and if we were to put this one on here, good LED, and this one on here, you can see that it lights up and it doesn't stop the others from working. Yeah. Now this light we took off, this is a faulty light that we took off from over here, but yeah, look, as soon as we connect this one up, it stops them all from working. Yeah. Okay. Up until that point. Yep, so it doesn't matter where this light is on that point in between where it goes from 2-wire to 2-wire, anywhere on this section here, anywhere on this parallel section, it knocks out that whole section. And I've discovered something else which is interesting. So, remember I said it doesn't seem to make a difference with polarity? It does when it comes to the function of the lights, the flashing and stuff. So watch now, I've got it set where it's going from white with the blues off, and then the white will slowly fade away, and then the blue will kick in. Well, depending on how we connect this LED here, so you can see the blue's in now, will depend on how it works. So this is a blue LED regardless, it can only light up as blue, but watch this. If I connect it up this way round, you can see it's blue, but it's on with all the whites. Yeah, these are whites here where my finger's pointing to. Now when the blues are on, this is not on. So right now we've got 3 LEDs together that are going to come on at the same time, which shouldn't happen. You can see there. But now watch this. If I put it the other way round, check it out. It's off. And it will come on with the blue circuit. There we go. So it does make a difference about the polarity, but not for the reason I thought. It makes a difference like as far as the control of them is concerned. Look at that. This is just getting more and more interesting. Now we'll go on to blue, and it comes on. Excellent. So yeah, I've got to make sure I get them in the right orientation and the right colour. Okay, so I'm just going to solder up one of them, put the heat shrink on it, and then I can do all the others off camera. So I'm just tinning up the wires. So this is one with an actual missing LED. Yeah. So now I need to make sure I know which way they go on. Right, so that's on with the blues, and then it's off with the white, so I know it's going to go that way now. So I need to solder that onto there and that one onto here. Now I might need to get some helping hands. I'm just going to see if I can do this just with my fingers. Now obviously it'd be best to do this with the batteries out, but the problem I've got is that I won't be able to tell the orientation and stuff unless I keep putting the batteries in and out, and I've got so many to do that it will take me all day. Right, now let's heat shrink that up. So I need it to be about, let's do it the same as the others. And I'm just going to heat that up with my hot air at the lowest setting, which is 100 degrees Celsius. There we go. Right, so that doesn't look too bad there, and you can see now if I was to put it onto a different setting, you can see that it's lighting up. But what I'm going to do is that's not going to be waterproof at all in there. So we're saying that none of them really are. There's holes in all of them. But I think on the ones that I'm going to do, I'm going to put some little rubber glue type stuff up there, this liquid tape stuff. And then that will just block up the hole, add a little bit of heat to it, and then that will set like rubber. And let's just heat that up. There we go, that will do for that one, and obviously that will still keep going off a little bit as the hours pass. So I honestly believe that that will be more waterproof than the other ones there. Now I know that took a long amount of time, but where it comes to just the wires that I was just breaking here, then they're going to be a lot easier to do. So I'm just going to quickly do that one on camera. Just let's just do this one here, and then I can do all the others off camera. So I can get a small little heat shrink for that one. You can get one with 4 different sizes on eBay and Amazon for next to nothing. They're not expensive and they'll last you for ages. So for this one, I'm just going to cut these in half so I can get 2 repairs on each one. Let's tin that up. And now I'm just pushing it down to one side and put the heat shrink on it, like so. In fact, you know what, for that one I can actually probably get it all the way up into here. Right, let's shrink that down. Right, for that one now I'm not going to use any of the rubber glue because you can see that because the heat shrink's so small, it's sealed it up completely anyway. Yeah, and it's still working. So, next time you see this, it will be all put back together. So check them out. They're all working, flashing, every single one of them, and there was no shortcuts taken. I replaced the LEDs on every one that I pulled out. So I made sure it was blue, white, as we go along, and now every single function is working on these ones here. Now before we bring it outside, I've just taken a little cover off here just to show you the inside of it here, but unfortunately there's not really much to see. Obviously it's the chip that's doing all the work. It's a 14-pin chip. You can see it's just soldered onto the wires going out there. This is the function switch. This is the on and off switch on the right hand side. There's not really much to see there. Is there an easier way to do this? Obviously you've seen how I did it, and it was just cutting the wire, and then when the LEDs lit up to there, I knew that it was okay up to that point. Then cutting another wire. If it didn't light up to there, then I knew the fault was between there and there, and then I could just start breaking it down bit by bit. Is that the only way to test for a shorted LED, or is there some other way that you can test? If you know an easier way to do it, then put it down in the comments, because I will learn for next time, and then other people reading this will then know an easier way to do it rather than do how I did it, which was basically just trial and error, just going in halves all the time to break it down. Yes, I got there. First time I was lucky, it was the very first one, but on the second time I had to do about 5 breaks or something to get it to pinpoint it. But it was a nice bit of fault finding, so I thoroughly enjoyed it. So let's bring this outside now and see what it looks like.
Here we go. And there they are there, the blue and white ones, not the coloured ones, but all that massive section there. So in a weird way, I enjoyed this one a lot more than I thought I would do. It felt quite good pinpointing the faulty LEDs. Whether I do it again or not on another one, I'm not too sure. It was quite time consuming, but it was definitely nice to try and get my head around it. And I'm hoping it's going to make for a more interesting video than I initially thought. But obviously, I'll know that by looking at the thumbs up and thumbs down. So I'm often wrong, and I'll probably be wrong on this one. But anyway, I will do more videos before Christmas. But in case I don't see you again before Christmas, I hope you all have a lovely Christmas and a great
2021. Until then, I give you all a big thumbs up. Take care. Bye now.
Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It's the night of the dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth. A thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. Fall on your knees, oh, hear the angel voices. Oh, night divine, the night when Christ was born. Oh, night divine, oh, night divine.